Marines were advancing up the sand. It was just a real disaster because the enemy let the Marines on shore, and then that's when all the fireworks started. And each day we had wounded Marines aboard, and one day LCI came aboard with 42 wounded soldiers. And one thing I do recall, I can't say exactly, but because we were right at the southern end of Mount Suribachi, and being a cook, I was out about between breakfast and lunch break, and I noticed the flag. Now, the first flag that went up. Now, I can't say for sure if I initially saw it or it was up when I saw it. And I saw it quite a bit before all the ships recognized that what had happened. And of course, all the whistles were blowing and all the cheering was going on at our victory. Well, they anticipated that we should take Iwo Jima in 3 hours, or 3 days, but it took us 23 days to conquer the island. Of course, then at night they had the flares, and you could see the nighted flares. However, each night that we had to retreat. We lifted up anchor, went out, and if there was enemy airplanes in the area, we'd get the fire alarm and general quarters, and then they would start up the smoke generators that camouflaged our ship. And we, out of the 11 days we were there, I think there's about 9 days that we had to start our smoke generators because there were sorties in the area. And however, our Navy must have done a great job on the outer defense because I don't think that there was a plane that got near Mount Suribachi. And the last day we were there, the war was still in progression, and a super fortress landed on the island while we were there. And of course he wasn't supposed to, but he was damaged. You know, the reason of taking Iwo Jima was for these super forts to land there, those that couldn't make it back and were damaged. And of course the super fortress was named a super fortress because it could take so much damage. It was a very sorry sight. Because we brought, as I mentioned, we had a new ship and we had a beautiful sick bay. We loaded, had a load of 1,100 wounded Marines and left there 11 days after the invasion and went to Saipan and unloaded the wounded aboard a hospital ship. So, you can't, seeing bringing these Marines, bleeding and vomiting in the LCVPs, it was just very, very sickening to see him bring them up. But I, of course, was a lot of times, I didn't see a lot of them, but I saw enough of them because we were in the galley and had to do all the cooking and special food for the sailors that needed special food. So we got to Saipan, and then from Saipan we went down to Eniwetok. Eniwetok is a very small island. They're all, I can't think of it, well, they were all just raised beyond sea level, about 6 feet at the most, And so that's, we stopped there and I had about, I think, 10 days of rest and relaxation. We left Eniwetok on March 11th of 1945, and we crossed the equator on the 14th of March. And of course, I was a polywog and the shellbacks, and of course they didn't show any mercy to the polywogs. And of course, I don't know if anybody else mentioned the initiation on there, but that was um, quite an experience. And they had one of the big mechanics there. He had belly full of jelly or axle grease, you know, and you go up to him, you have to kiss the chief's belly, and he says, well, you didn't kiss him, and you push your head down and get all screwed up. And after that, the barber gave you a haircut, and then they had a chair there. You had to sit in a chair, and then the chair flipped back and put you in the pool, and then, of course, all the shellbacks would keep you underwater until you thought you were going to drown. And then after that, of course, you got out of there, and then you had to line up while you were in your skivvies, and then they had canvas bags or towels, and you bent over and went backwards, and they would be slapping you one after another. So it was quite an experience. Continued south to the Solomon Islands and Guadalcanal, and then after we left Guadalcanal, we went down to the New Hebrides. And in the New Hebrides, we were at Espiritu Santos, is where we picked up the 27th Army Division. And then we left Espiritu Santos on March 19th, and with the 27th Army Division, and arrived again back in the Solomon Islands. And then from there we went to Ulysses. And from Ulysses then, we left Ulysses on April 4th and arrived at Okinawa on April 9th. And there we unloaded our 27th Army Division. And there we encountered much more airplane sorties, and at that time, of course, our outer defense did pick up a lot of the kamikazes. Starboard side, I was on a port, and starboard was shooting at them, and according to the guys that were on ship, it looked like the pilot or head had been shot because his head was laying to the side, and he just cleared our ship probably about 200 feet, crashed on the other side about 1,000 yards from our ship. But all these kamikazes were not ace pilots. What their job was to damage any ship they could, and just dive into, and their biggest targets were always cruisers and battleships, aircraft carriers and destroyers, because those ones didn't care too much about the other smaller ships, the supply ships and so forth, because they don't cause the damage that the fleet did. I was on the port side, so I couldn't see the airplane, but I could hear it when it came over and crash, 2,000 yards away or 1,000 yards away, and I guess it just about took off our aerial that we had on our ship, and then we had the big cargo booms that were there too, but they missed. So none of the American planes were supposed to be in the area, and a Corsair came in to land on Okinawa, and of course everybody was gun happy and shooting at him. Well, I took a look at it and I could see the gull wings on a Corsair, so I didn't fire, but a lot of shots, and then he landed, but then there was a lot of brush and trees and so forth, so I never knew what had happened to the Corsair. As a matter of fact, when we were there, a destroyer came by, and half the bridge was blown off, and we could see bag bodies on the deck, and it was a ship that was very severely damaged, and one half the bridge was all gone and so forth, and so that was another experience that you don't forget, is to see body bags aboard a ship and piled up there. So, but we were out kind of far, and when we left Espiritu Santos, we were in a convoy, and some mentioned, I don't know if it was true, but some of the crew mentioned that we had General Buckner aboard our ship because our ship was able to keep up with the larger ships, the battleships and the cruisers and so forth, because we could travel at 15 knots. So that was the thought there was to put him aboard a troop ship, because then if there was kamikazes in the area, you would lose General Buckner. Yes, he was killed, and there's the bay was named after him, Buckner Bay. And as a matter of fact, during our year after, or 14 months after, we visited Okinawa about 3 times. Well, you're always nervous. Anytime you're in an area where there's a lot of shooting and exploding and so forth, you're very, very tense. Like I say, when that Corsair came in, everybody was trigger heavy. You just had to shoot, and probably a lot of them didn't recognize the gull wings on a Corsair. So then after Okinawa, then we went back to Saipan and arrived at Saipan on April 20th. And then from Saipan we went to Ulysses, and then our ship at Ulysses was completely painted and camouflaged. And because it was not fully camouflaged at the time we left, because we had to leave in such a hurry, so we were camouflaged there. And then from there, we were ordered back to San Francisco on May 24th of 1945, and landed in San Francisco on June 29th, and unloaded some Army personnel and Marines. When we arrived at San Francisco, we didn't get there in time for the submarine nets to be open. So we had to circle all night, and of course there were rollers there all night. And so it was an experience there, because the ship could take a list of 45 degrees, and we got probably to about 43. And it was a rough night. Everything was going from one side of the ship to the other. So chairs and dishes and cups and trays and everything was just a real mess there. And then from there we went up to Seattle. But when we were there at Seattle, we did board the Marines, and they were invasion-like trained for invasion. So we knew that at the time that probably we would be in the invasion of Japan. And as a matter of fact, our convoy was supposed to be a decoy if we were to invade Japan. And so that was probably a blessing there that we would be selected as at that. Then we got back to Pearl Harbor, and then back to the Marshall Islands at Eniwetok. And then, of course, on August 15th was the Japanese surrender. Well, it was a normal day at Eniwetok, and we heard the surrender, and of course, again, all the whistles and cheering was going on, and it was very exciting. And then besides that, that's the first time I saw a P-51, and they came down, and of course they were real active in World War II, because they were kind of a later plane that came out, but those things, just a beautiful plane flying over there at their speed. It was exciting to see that. But we left there and went back to Ashima that is another city in Okinawa. And we dropped off some troops there and picked up some troops. And then we left there and went down to Leyte in in the Philippines in Mindanao, and then we had some young Marines, and we went up between Leyte and Mindanao to an island called Cebu. And Cebu was a long, narrow island, and it was probably only a mile and a half wide.